Welcome back, everybody. Ciao, amici. My name is Maestro Leo Spizzirri, and today I'm going to be building one of my favorite Detroit pizzas. The cool thing about the way I'm gonna build this pizza with you, it's actually two pizzas that you can make individually, but combined, they're magical. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be taking a par-baked pizza crust. If you haven't watched that video, here's the link to go ahead and do it. I took the dough, I par-baked it, and what we have is this beautiful crust of par-baked dough. It's got a beautiful brown color, which is right at the point that I want it to be, and then the top just started baking, but this inside still needs to finish baking all the way. Let's talk about cheese, because cheese is important when we get to this. I'm gonna teach you guys today how to make the most incredible frico edge, that cheese crown that everybody loves. I'm gonna give you that secret today. This pizza, the first pizza, is actually a 4-cheese pizza. So when I build my Detroit, I build this beautiful cheese base that can be amazing on its own. Traditionally, in Detroit, they use brick cheese. Brick cheese isn't available sometimes all over the country. It's a Midwest thing. In Chicago, when I go to the grocery store, I just go to the deli department. I say I need brick cheese. I don't get them to slice it. I get a chunk of it, and then I use a box grater and I grate it myself. This is like a beautiful melting cheese, and it doesn't get overly dark. A lot of times we bake, let's say with mozzarella, this is whole milk mozzarella right here. I love to use shredded mozzarella for all my pizzas, but on the Detroit style pizza, especially with that frico nice caramelized cheese edge, the mozzarella gets too dark. But that historic, beautiful looking golden crust comes from the brick cheese. Also, another great cheese to use is white cheddar. I love the sharpness of this, and I think it works really great for this pizza. You see that this is sliced, and I'm gonna tell you here in a minute why I'm using sliced cheddar. The last one here is fontina. Now, fontina and Asiago are two of my favorites to use. Again, maybe it's me just being an Italian and I wanna have an Italian cheese on top of this pizza, but I think that these both work really well. This one's fontina. If you can get yourself some Asiago, that'll be amazing as well. And then obviously this is the queen mother of all cheeses, Parmigiano Reggiano. You know it's the real thing because of all the way the rind looks, because it's stamped by the consortium in Italy and literally says Parmigiano Reggiano. Detroit pizza historically is not made with the sauce baked on top of the pizza. The sauce always goes on the pizza afterwards. And by the smell of my kitchen, it's ready for my sauce to be done. I made this sauce yesterday and all I did is warmed it up. So by the time the pizza is ready to come out of the oven, this sauce now is ready to go. The last one is pepperoni. I love to use a lot of different types of pepperoni. For me, pepperoni is one of those that I feel like if you can't get really good sliced pepperoni, go to the deli and get yourself a stick. The sticks of pepperoni, you're gonna have to hand slice them. I got this, and I'm gonna put a link to this. This is a really cool slicer, and I use this a lot for a lot of my salumi. You take the stick of pepperoni, you stick it underneath. It's got a little gauge over here that changes the depth of this little bar, so you can change the thickness that you want. And literally you just sit here and chop and chop and chop, and you got beautiful, fresh, sliced pepperoni just before you use it. It's a really amazing thing. When we made the dough, and we did the par baking video. If you've watched that video, you'll have seen that I use Crisco. I use shortening in here. I didn't use a ton of loose oil, liquid oil. And I was able to kind of get up on this edge and everything kind of stuck in here. Now with using that as the principle, when we par bake our crust, you gotta remember that this shrinks a little bit because the water has been baked out. So when I put this back into the pan, there's always a gap around here. And this is where a lot of the pizza professionals have started turning this frico crust into an event. What are they doing? They're taking this cheddar cheese just like this, and depending on how thick the cheese is sliced, I usually go to the deli and say, slice the cheddar as thick as like bologna. And then you would take a slice like this, cut it in half down the middle. But to me, since this pan is 2 inches high and this slice is almost the same, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these slices and I'm gonna line them up against each other, flat against the pan. I did this just before you started, and I put a little bit of oil just so that the side of this pan is a little tacky and the cheese wants to stick. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna put the cheese around first, and then anywhere that there's a gap, and then I'll go through back at the end and I'll finish this in all the little gaps that are there. But all of a sudden, I think you can kind of get the point of where I'm going with this, that this cheddar is gonna melt to the side of the pan, it's gonna melt to the side of the crust, and it's gonna be a barrier for all the cheese when it goes to the side. And if we do our job right, we're gonna have this gorgeous cheese crown that sticks up about this high. All your friends and family are gonna be oohing and eyeing and asking you, how the heck did you make that? Because I make my Detroit pizza all the time and it never looks like that. Guess what? It's your secret to keep. I'm gonna take some of these. If you see a little gap, don't be afraid. Just kind of fill in all the little holes. If there's a little one, go and fill it. If there's a big one, go ahead and fill it. Right? It's not rocket science. So I'm gonna take this, put it back inside the pan. If you can see just like this, now all of a sudden, I'm gonna have the base for this gorgeous cheese crown. Now, what's next? Brick cheese. Lots of it, right? I shouldn't say lots of it because to me, I still come from that school that says less is more. So with the brick cheese, I'm gonna try to load the brick cheese around the edges, kind of building this wall from the outside. When cheese melts, it wants to melt from the sides and everything melts to the middle. So everybody gets so concerned about kind of filling in the middle, but they don't realize that everything melts towards the middle. So if you do this process like this, the brick cheese will keep that nice, beautiful frico crown, and then everything else in the middle, the melting cheeses, like the mozzarella, for example, that wants to turn black, all it's gonna do is be really creamy in the center. And that's actually the next cheese that I'm gonna put down. I'm gonna put down a layer of mozzarella right here directly in the center. I'm going a little bit more scant in the center than I did on the side because there is a lot of cheese already in this pan and I want just enough to do the job. This is why I said maybe this combination of cheeses, I'm gonna take some of that beautiful fontina, if you got Asiago, whatever, kind of give this a little bit on top. A little bit goes a long way. And then the last thing I'm doing, you see how I'm just kind of going around and keeping everything level? The last thing I'm gonna do is go with my grater. Every time I use Parmigiano Reggiano, I always talk about the snowfall. The snowfall of Parmigiano on top of the pizza. And I use a microplane, which makes it like those really fine shreds. However, this time, I don't want those fine shreds. I'm gonna grate it so that these are more evident on top over here because I want that Reggiano flavor to come out. I don't want it to kind of just melt into everything. I want it to be there so when you take that bite, you know that you ate some Reggiano. And this is, again, the reason why you're gonna have a couple more tools in your kitchen. And this way, the more tools that you have, a good mechanic, a good carpenter has a lot of tools because they're ready for anything. Now that all the cheese is on here, we're ready for the pepperoni. I'm gonna put the pepperoni on now because like I said, the sauce is gonna go on at the end. So this is sliced pepperoni. This one's actually from my friends at Hormel, and it's a brand new product. This pepperoni has Calabrian chili peppers inside of it. So it's like super spicy. This for me is a good amount of pepperoni. If you like more pepperoni than this, load it up. I don't care, put whatever you want. And if you wanna put some sausage or you wanna put something else, make it your own because this is the perfect time. This is ready to go into the oven right now. You can bake this directly on the rack and I'm gonna give you links to both pizza stones and baking steels. In my brand new book, Pizza Love, I actually talk about both of them and I talk about a few methods of how you can turn your home oven into a brick oven, just like a pizzeria. And all of it's described in my new book, Pizza Love. You can get it on Amazon, everywhere else. You can go to my website, leospizzirri.com. Sign up for my newsletter if you haven't done already. And you can also get the link to the book right there. The pizza's at the point of doneness that I like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. So now, taking a look at this, the thing that I said to you before it went into the oven is that I gave it a beautiful row or lineup of pepperoni on top. Pepperoni is one of those ingredients that it shrinks as it's baking, and then as the cheese starts melting and things get bubbly, they move around. This is the perfect example of how we had a beautiful looking pattern of pepperoni before it went into the oven, and you can see now how things moved and got away from the center. So there's a couple things you can do. Number one, leave it like this. Number two, you can try to take these little pepperonis off the sides and rearrange them. Or number three, when the pizza's almost done, go ahead and grab some pepperoni and throw it on top like this. And now what happens is the residual heat of the pizza will kind of render and cook the pepperoni a little bit so it won't be so, let's say, disintegrated. Now you have a pizza with pepperoni that's got multiple types of texture on them. And by the time we put the hot sauce and everything on top, the pepperoni will be perfectly done. We have a couple things that we have to do now too. like get this pizza out of the pan. Now we talked about that frico edge, that beautiful edge along the sides over here. What we want to do is I want to get a spatula that's got a nice sharp edge. This is actually a server. We use these in the restaurants, like a pizza server. I'm going to go to the side. I'm going to use my pan grippers to hold this in place, and I'm going to run this side of this. You can see it's kind of got a beveled edge all the way down the sides of the pizza, because any bits of that frico crust that are pointing upwards, I don't want to lose them. I don't want to try to break them off. It gives some beautiful dimension to this. And I'm going to do this all the way around the pizza. A lot of people, when we see this in the restaurant, I see guys do this all the time, that they're so quick because they got to serve the pizza to the customer at the table that they just kind of go and they break all that cheese edge off of this. You can see how simple it is to get this underneath the pan. And I literally am just gonna come around the sides and just pop it out. Just slide it out just like this. Now this is out of the pan. I'm putting this on top of a cooling rack until I'm ready to cut it, because this pizza has a lot of steam. It's heavy. There's cheese that melted. All this other stuff happened. So what's happening now is that all that extra steam and moisture, because we're on a cooling rack, the pizza isn't sitting in that humidity. Until we're ready to cut it, I would leave it on a rack just like this. Now that it's ready to go, I'm going to pull my cutting board out and I'm going to transfer it so I can cut it in front of you. But before I cut it, look at that beautiful caramelized edge that we talked about. So beautiful the way that this came out. And this is the best thing that I love. This is the whole point of that beautiful Detroit pizza. Even those pieces of pepperoni now that you saw that I added on at the end, now that they've kind of had a chance to heat up and render, look at how beautiful. And we have two different textures of pepperoni as well. So this is the bonus round, guys. This is what it's all about. How can we make the most out of the same ingredients? And then when you feed this to your loved ones, they're going to look at you and say, wow, this is better than every pizza joint that I've ever had this pizza in. And it's little tricks like this that set this off. The last thing that we need to do right now is finish it with the sauce. So my sauce has been warmed and it's ready to go. You saw the video of how to make this sauce. Traditionally in Detroit, we would put two, we call them racing stripes, just because it's the Motor City, right? It's Detroit. However, there's a lot of other ways to do it. And we've seen people that do like these kind of stripes on a diagonal, which I think that's kind of nice too, because you have sauce all over the pizza. However, to me, it's kind of messy and I think that it over sauces. I'm gonna go ahead, I've got just a wooden spoon over here, and I'm gonna start to give those little racing stripes here down the center. And because this sauce has been cooked, a lot of that extra moisture from the tomatoes is baked out. And as you cut through this, every bite will have that little bit of sauce. And as you come through, you'll also be able to make any adjustments. So if you went a little bit scant, you can kind of check your work and fix it. If you see that it needs a little sauce somewhere, don't be afraid to put it in there. You can see that because the sauce has been cooked, it's not running and dripping all over the place. So this to me is perfect. You can see now I've got a line down the center. I did that purposely because as I give this cut down the middle, I'm using this giant rocker knife. This is a really good friend of mine here in the garage. He actually custom built this for me, but there's definitely rocker knives out there, and I'll make sure that there's one in the description that if you want to buy one of those, that you can have a link going straight to it. But I'm going to cut this once down the middle. And then once we cut this down the middle, okay, the other thing that I want you guys to look at is then how we're gonna cut the sides. If this was that 8x10 pizza, we would literally cut this down the middle and each one of these would be one of 4 giant slices. However, on this one, this is more of like that party cut. So generally on this size pizza, on the 10x14, we'd find the center, cut that right down the middle, and then cut each one of those in half. And now you've got like the perfect slice. Looking at this right here, you can see I got 8 very nice uniform slices of pizza. And then the sauce is not overpowering everything. Everything's a nice bite. And as you bite into it, you get some of that sauce with each bite. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of that Parmigiano Reggiano and I'm gonna give this a final right on top. And you can see how nice this grater is that's not a microplane because it's a different texture of the Parmigiano that's on here. Some people like to take some maybe basil, fresh basil chiffonade, put that on top. That'll be beautiful as well. Any kind of greens, whatever you like. Some arugula if you're into that. Make this your own. You can finish this however you want. To me, I'm a corner guy. I love this. Check this out. I'm gonna show you the structure. Look at the interior of this slice. Can you see that? Look at how beautiful this is. Open, airy, light, everything that we love about this pizza is here. And this is to me why this is such a popular pizza to make at home and why the craze for Detroit pizza became such a craze. Guys, I hope you learned something. I hope I encourage you to bake this and try this at home. All these recipes are in my new book, Pizza Love. You can find that everywhere. If you have any questions, drop us a comment down below. I try to get back to everybody. If you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, please do. And guess what, guys? I can't wait to see you all soon. Ciao, amici.